Boa tarde, pessoal. Daqui Bruno Baixo, da Portugal Gamer, e estamos aqui com o Will Byles, o diretor criativo da Supermassive Games, e estamos a falar do seu novo jogo, o Until Dawn, que vai sair para a PS4. So, first, could you tell me a bit about the game that you have created and you have developed?
Sure. So, at its heart, Until Dawn is like a playable horror movie. It's set up in the mountains in British Columbia. There's like 8 friends who come together a year after the death of a couple of their other friends. They get up there. Suddenly, they realize that they're stuck up there. They can't get down. The phones don't work. It's all getting a little bit slasher horror for them, and one by one they start to come across something that's just, let's say, negative. And that's the kind of the setup. I won't tell you too much of the story because otherwise it will give away. What I will tell you is that there's a way that we play the story is that you play everybody, you play every one of the characters. Everybody can die. Everybody can survive. There's no preset deaths at all. It'll all depend on how you play it and the choices that you make. And also, when you die in this game, when one of your characters dies, they stay dead. That's it. The story moves on without that character. It's a different story.
One of the things that I saw when I've tried the game like a year ago in Lisboa Games Week.
Okay,
I loved the game.
Oh, fantastic.
And from the presentation as well, what I got was like you got inspiration from the butterfly flag. It also had like some horror films, you know, like Saw and whatnot. It had that feel. What were like the main inspirations, you know, for the game? Like, where did you get all these ideas and all this concept? And
well, to be honest, I've been watching horror films when I was a child. I was quite a young child. My sister used to wake me up at night and make me come downstairs and watch horror films with her because she was too scared to do them on her own. And I was traumatized by this. But I've been kind of obsessed with them from then on. I watch them all the time. I read horror. I love horror. And so there. Honestly, I couldn't list everything that has an influence because there's so much. But there's obviously some key things. There's some The Shining, you know, it's in the mountains and the big lodge and all that sort of stuff. There's all the kind of the slasher things like Friday the 13th and Freddy Krueger, and you know, there's the things like Scream and I Know What You Did Last Summer and Final Destination. But also there's a lot of other little bits. Again, I don't want to give too much away by telling you because it will give away some of the secrets. But there's so much in there. And then whenever we can, we will give a little kind of, you know, tip of the hat to specific ones. Like the one in the demo you just saw, you can see there's a little, I won't say what it is, but there's a little nod to one of the classic horrors in there.
Another thing, when I seem to look at it, the gameplay mechanics seem kind of familiar, like with other games like Heavy Rain and whatnot. Did you, you know, take inspiration from that as well? And what were the main difficulties with it?
Definitely. I mean, Heavy Rain is a massive inspiration for this. The idea of having a narrative that changes depending on your story, on what you do and your choices. We think we've taken it in a slightly different direction with this multiple choice thing, where the choices you have, and also with the multiple and varied deaths. We think we've changed a little bit of that into a slightly different direction. But that's, I think, mostly because it's horror, so that kind of works like that. You know, a horror film isn't a bad horror film if somebody dies. So we wanted the same of a horror game. If you make a decision and someone dies, that's not a bad decision. It's always difficult with choice-based games where you have a branch, because every time you have a branch, there's a story that you see and there's a story you don't see. And we have so many of those. There's so much you won't see. So that's obviously a big difficulty. It's a very difficult way to work.
And what was the feedback from the players that you that have been playing the game? You know, because nowadays it's kind of difficult to release a game like this and have the success that you guys seem to be having.
Yeah. Well, to be honest, it's one of those things. I would say 99% of people love it if they're playing it and they're engaging in it. It's even people who might not like this style of game seem to be loving it. So that's really good. There's always people every now and again who will just want a different game, and you know, we can't sort that problem for them. But the response has been overwhelming. It's been really, really positive.
Another question that I had was Could you talk us a bit more through the choice system?
Yeah.
Like, give us some good examples so that we can, show our...
Sure. So the way that the game works is outside of the traditional gameplay, the kind of the exploration and the combat and the kind of action scenes and some quick time events. Outside of that, there's the main kind of fundamental mechanic of Until Dawn is the choices that you make and the decisions that you take, because they affect the way that the game and the story changes. What happens is every single one of those slightly changes the story. Some of those choices will have a fairly big effect, and some will have a massive effect. But you don't know when those are. So it's like you do something and you pick up a little note and look at that and you go, oh, okay, and put that down again. And if the little butterfly effect sign comes on the screen, it means you've kicked off a big branch of the story. And because that branch has happened, there's a whole set of circumstances and events that will happen that wouldn't have happened if you hadn't done that. And it has to be connected to this. It's not like we just make stuff up. It's got to be this leads to this, which leads to that, which leads to... and some of them are life and death. Some of them will, potentially will kill you. So that's the way that the sort of butterfly mechanic works. I don't want to give too many examples about specific choices and examples, but I can tell you, for instance, that if you have a conversation with somebody and that conversation you choose some of the maybe meaner options than the nice options, then your relationship will change with that character. And if their relationship changes, you don't know what their behavior will be in the future. It may be good, it may be bad, it may be, maybe you want them to be bad, maybe there's all of that sort of balance. And again, it's often life and death with that.
Another question I had for you: why can we play with the 8 characters? It's so that we can put ourselves in the shoes of 8 different people and have a different vision of each one of them. What was the idea behind that?
Well, partly to do with the idea that with the way that Stephen King often writes books is he writes one kind of big scenario from lots of different points of view. You follow one person, then you follow another person, and we thought that feels like a very nice way to tell horror. That feels like a good way to tell horror. But also, it helps us do this thing where you have not just one journey, you have 8 journeys, which means if one of them dies, you still have 7 journeys. It's not like if you have one character you play through and he dies there, that's done, isn't it? So it allows us to be able to extend the narrative without having a respawn and not having death as a permadeath.
I think that's pretty much it.
Okay, good.
I thank you very much for talking to us. I love the game. I hope I get to play it. I still don't have a PS4. I need to buy it. I also want to play Bloodborne. Yeah, but this is an amazing title. I congratulate you on it, and thank you for talking with us.
You're really
Pleasure
welcome.
to meet you.
Thank you.
Excuse me.